Most people think if you have low testosterone, your only real options are generic advice like taking supplements and eating clean and exercising, or TRT. But there is another way, and I've proven this with dozens and dozens and dozens of case studies, helping guys from teenagers all the way up to 50 and 60 years old to increase their testosterone naturally without TRT. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how. Now, before we get into it, I'll show you a specific example. This is Jason Stone. He's one of my clients. Highly successful guy, some of you may know him. Before working with me, he was on TRT and he didn't want to keep taking it because he didn't want to be dependent on a synthetic drug to try and feel like a man. And so here's the issue. Once you come off of TRT, your body struggles to produce testosterone on its own. Some people suffer a lot of withdrawal symptoms. They feel tired, their balls aren't working properly. And Jason wanted help to get his test levels back naturally, and that's what we did. We nearly doubled his natural testosterone levels, and he's over 40 years old. And when you do something like this, you're going to experience much more energy, much more appetite for life. You're going to have the drive and wake up rock hard every single day, literally, to go after your goals and achieve everything that you want to. So let's get straight into how we did it. So everything we did comes down to three main pillars. The first pillar is toxins. And this alone could be the reason your testosterone is low and you're not where you want to be. So most people completely underestimate this. Now, when I say toxins, what am I talking about? I don't just mean microplastics, avoiding plastic and don't use plastic bottles and stuff like that. That advice is true and it does affect your hormones and your health, but we need to go deeper than that. And so what I'm going to talk about briefly is heavy metals: arsenic, aluminum, mercury, and lead, just to name 4 examples. So you're going to find these heavy metals in things like cans of soda, frying pan, most supplements, including whey protein. They're all mostly contaminated these days. Foods like rice, the tap water that you wash with, even your cosmetic products like deodorants and creams, and that's just to name a few examples. And what happens is, as you're exposed to these heavy metals, they build up inside your body. This process is called bioaccumulation. And this starts to affect every aspect of your body, not just your hormones, but every single function in your body gets impaired by these heavy metals. There's so many studies showing how it affects everything from your hair loss to even lowering your IQ. So what we do is reduce exposure, eliminate the sources in your day-to-day life, and then you want to eliminate the metals that have already built up inside of your body. That's what it means to detox, to eliminate those metals that are already inside of your body, in your tissues, in your organs. And that's what's going to give you real lasting results. So there are many different ways that you can detox and remove those metals from your body. I'm not going to name all of them in this video, otherwise that would be a 5-hour video, but I'll give you one good example. One is using hot baths. And if you don't have a bathtub in your house, don't worry, we'll get onto an alternative in a moment. But I'll tell you why hot baths are one of the most effective ways to detox. Firstly, it raises your internal temperature. The bath water is slightly above your body temperature. So that's going to make you start sweating a lot. Sweating, perspiring, is one of the best, most effective ways to remove all kinds of toxins from your body, not just heavy metals, but microplastics and other chemicals. So that's going to start to help you remove a lot of toxins through your skin. It's going to increase blood circulation around your body. It's going to help with blood flow. It's going to improve your lymphatic system as well, but I won't explain all of that in detail on this video. I'm just going to talk about now removing toxins with the bath. But it's important in the short term for some kind of testosterone transformation that you don't want to soak your testicles in the water. You don't want to overheat your balls. That's temporarily going to affect your sperm and could affect hormone production as well. Now, the most common question I get is, what about saunas? A lot of people these days, they don't have bathtubs at home, so they ask, well, can I just go in the sauna? Saunas, ideally you can get a bathtub, and I would encourage you to even seek out buying a bathtub because it is that important and it is that useful on your journey of enhancing your health. But sauna is second best. If you cannot do that, you can go in the sauna and you will be able to sweat out a lot of the toxins. The issue with the sauna is that it's too hot. And because the temperature is so high, it starts to even reduce your bacteria levels in your body, which is something that you want to avoid. But I won't explain that in detail now. Just understand that the sauna is too hot. It's too far above body temperature. But if you stay in the sauna just for a few minutes and you sweat a lot, there are benefits to doing that. Just be careful not to burn your hair and lose all your hair in the process. So the bath and then the sauna are just a few examples of many different tools that you have to detox. And that's really the foundation, one of the foundations of removing toxins from your body. It's very important to develop that habit of sweating consistently. Now, there is one more thing I want to mention before we get into the second and the third pillar, which are absolutely crucial for any kind of testosterone transformation. And that is that everyone is very different. Some people are born with a lot of toxins. That's why you see a lot of people when they're young, they're having a lot of health problems. Partly it is because of these toxins. So everyone has a different base level of toxins. Everyone has different genetics. Everyone has different habits, different starting points of what they're eating, what their health routine is. And so it's very important to always take a very individual approach. What I'm explaining in this video is 3 of the core pillars, but you as an individual, you have your own situation, you have your own specifics that are important to you. This is why we work with people one-on-one. I'm not going to go into detail on that right now, but do check that out in the description if you are interested at the end of this video. So let's get into the second pillar. The second pillar, this is an interesting one. This is everything to do with your mental state. There are several techniques that I like to use, from meditation to hypnosis to visualization, that will help to reduce stress, reduce cortisol. And the most important mental trick that you can use, or tool that you can use, and I'll start with this one, is meditation. And meditation isn't some hippie thing, it's just a tool that can help you be less hectic, less emotional, make better decisions, and be more stable. And I can tell you personally, I had 2 lives. The life before I started doing meditation and relaxation techniques, and my life after. And the difference is drastic. The meditation is going to help you to be consistent. It's going to help you to avoid cheap addictions and just make better decisions overall. And better decisions will create better habits, and that will create better health, better hormones. And it is also going to reduce cortisol levels, which can impair your testosterone. It also has an effect when you meditate a lot that you develop the traits of a man who is higher testosterone. You will be less needy, you will be less emotional, you will be more self-contained, much more powerful as an individual. So that's also another aspect to it. So that's why meditation and these techniques are very useful, and I encourage them for all of my students. I didn't used to do this. This is something that I came to understand the value of in the last few years, and it has completely changed my life, and it helps for people to get drastically better health results if they start to do some of these mental techniques that I include. So meditation is one that you can start with, and that's going to help you to relax and make rational, good decisions. The third pillar is nutrition, and I've added why your gut health is ruining your results. So this is where a lot of people get things majorly wrong, because they think of nutrition and they just think of, oh, avoid processed food, avoid junk food, and eat whole foods and you'll be all right. If that advice worked, we wouldn't have this low testosterone crisis that you see today. That advice does not help. It does not go deep enough to help, actually. So I'm not going to explain to you why processed food and seed oils and fried food is bad, right? You've heard that before. You should have probably heard that before by now. I'm also not going to explain why eating a lot of vegetables can wreck your gut. It creates a lot of gas and issues, because that's already out there. That's nothing new. I'm also not going to talk about why farmed fish, like farmed salmon, is harmful. They use a lot of chemicals, the feed that they give, they even medicate the fish. Avoid farmed fish. I'm not going to talk about those things in detail. Those things are out there. Instead, what I want to explain is 5 less obvious things that are hurting your results. And after that, I'll explain what to add instead. The first one is frozen meat. Freezing will change the enzymes, the bacteria, it can damage the fats and the proteins, and it just reduces the value of the meat. The things that you want from meat can be impaired if you freeze it, and it becomes harder to digest. I've been avoiding frozen meat for 6 years, and once you start to avoid it, you really don't want to have frozen meat. You can really notice the difference. So you want to avoid frozen meat. It's not going to give you the effect that you want from eating the meat. And this is something that's really quite high priority. So if you are eating frozen meat, I would encourage you to find a different source of fresh meat that's never been frozen that you can get consistently. The second point I want to talk about is to avoid drinking lots of water, especially around the meals. And I'm going to sip some milk as I explain this. So what happens is, if you drink a lot of water around the meals, it's going to literally dilute your digestion. And that will affect your ability to take the nutrients from the food and use them in your body. So it's very important not to drink a lot of water, especially around meals. This is a huge mistake I see so many guys make. And in general, you don't want to be drinking loads of water. Drinking a gallon of water is terrible advice. I do not suggest that. It's going to dilute your mineral levels around your whole body. It's going to affect your hormones negatively. So when you start to urinate, you're going to have very clear urine. That's because there's nothing in the urine. There's no minerals. There's nothing there. So you do not want to drink a lot of water. The third one I'm going to talk about is to reduce your salt intake. Salt will make you thirsty, and that will make you want to drink a lot of water. So it's connected to the previous point. So in general, you want to reduce the salt intake, then you're not going to be so thirsty all the time and have the urge to drink a lot of water. you can instead get the minerals or electrolytes that you need through foods instead, and that is a much more effective strategy. Just a simple test you can do is reduce your salt intake, and you'll see that your need to drink a lot of water will go down drastically. The third one that I want to talk about is low-fat dairy. Protein yogurts, low-fat cheese, or whatever people have these days. You do want to avoid these things. You do not want to have pasteurized dairy products. This is obviously raw milk. You want to avoid things where they've removed the fat from the dairy. The fat is the most important part of the dairy product. It's there for a reason. You do not want to remove it. Fat is going to give you your energy. It's going to give you your hormones. It's going to give you nice soft skin. It's what makes your skin look good, is having that fat, that lubrication in the skin. So avoid low-fat dairy products, protein yogurts, whatever people have these days. The fifth one is supplements, especially some of the worst supplements. Fish oil being one of the examples. A lot of studies now showing the harms of fish oil, and vitamin D, the way that it's produced, heavily chemical, with a lot of chemicals, hexane and other petrochemicals. Strongly avoid these things. You do not need them. These are not necessary, firstly, but they are also something that can create a lot of problems long term. So I'll be very cautious, especially with fish oil more than anything. The proof that I have is already out there. I have already the case studies, the testimonials, the results to show for it. You do not need to take supplements. They are not necessary. And the long-term implications of taking these processed chemicals, a lot of the supplements you even buy, they're not even what they say, by the way, but even if it is what it says, the way that it's manufactured and processed with all the different chemicals, the effects of that, no one really knows how bad it is. So if it's not necessary, there's no need to do it. Avoid. Now let's get into what to add. Because as much as I like to talk about what to remove, it's almost more important to talk about what to add, because that will naturally cancel out what you should remove. So what should you add? I'm going to go into some principles of digestion as well as giving some specific examples. And this is going to help you digest the foods well, so you can actually build your body, you can actually create testosterone and create good health. The first thing I want to talk about is food quality. This is very important, because a regular egg and a high quality egg, as an example, are two completely different foods. What you feed the animal will create a nutritious egg that is good for you, versus if you feed some kind of toxic food to the animal, well, there's studies showing that eggs can contain heavy metals in them, like arsenic. I saw some studies. So it's fundamental that you choose high quality food, especially when it comes to animal foods. Now, to find high quality food, it does require a bit of effort, because it's not easy in our society to just be healthy. In most places, you can't just go to the store and just buy, something that says eggs and it's going to be a good one. You need to look out for actual quality. And that's what it takes to have good health, and not to fall into the same traps that everyone does and get sick when they get older, etc. So high quality food is fundamental. You want to improve your food quality. You're going to feel better as you do this. The next thing I want to talk about is pairing foods correctly. This is a principle of good digestion. Certain foods, when you eat them together, will help you digest the food, like fats and protein. But if you eat other kinds of foods at the same time, it's going to mess up your digestion. The foods don't work well together. I'm going to explain specifically now. There was one study, for example, that showed if you eat oysters at the same time as certain vegetables and carbohydrates, you will not digest the minerals, or not absorb the minerals in the oyster, which is a food that is very high in minerals. So if you pair the wrong foods together, and people do this all the time, then you're not going to be getting the nutrients from the food. So you're going to be investing in all that nice quality food, but you're not even going to be absorbing it or digesting it well. So it's not just what you eat, it's also how you combine the foods together. This is fundamental to get good health results. The third point I want to talk about is consumption of animal fats. This is one of the biggest game changers that's going to give you the best results, not just with your testosterone, but how you look, your skin, your energy levels. So you want to increase high quality animal fats in your diet, especially raw or unpasteurized sources of animal fats. So raw bone marrow, as an example, or raw unpasteurized butter or cream that you can buy from farms, or even raw milk like I'm drinking right now. I can give you a good example. Jason, my client Jason, I mentioned earlier. So one of the things Jason did was to add butter to his coffee, and he noticed a big boost in energy as he did that. And that also shifted his perspective on understanding the value of fat and how that can really enhance your health, enhance your life. So you want to not just have the fats, but you also want to digest them well, and you want to make sure your digestion works well so you can use those fats to have nice skin and to have good energy levels. The fourth thing I'm going to talk about is adding in some raw foods in the diet. These days you see a lot of people eating only raw food. That's what I like to do, but that's not super necessary, especially in the beginning. But in the beginning, what you want to do is transition to having some raw foods in your diet. And I don't mean raw vegetables and salads. I'm talking about raw animal products, for example, raw fat sources like I talked about. Now, what's an easy way for people to start is something like raw eggs, raw milk, sushi, sashimi, steak tartares, these kinds of things. Oysters are another good example. As long as you want to make sure that the meat is fresh and not frozen, and that's going to give you the most benefits. Now, the important thing with the raw food is that it's going to give you a lot of enzymes, it's going to digest very well, it's going to give you the raw materials, literally, that your body needs to repair, rebuild itself, to produce testosterone, for example. I can give you a good example. When you eat rare steak tartare, you should notice that it gives you energy, which is a raw beef dish. You're going to find it in any nice restaurant. And this is one of the things that can really help you to produce a lot of testosterone. So as you can see, this isn't just one thing. There's no magic pill. It's a full system. And if you've made it to this point in the video, you probably realize it goes much deeper than you thought. If you're someone that wakes up tired, you feel sluggish, you hit energy crashes, it feels like that drive isn't there anymore, those things are not normal, right? You don't have to live with it. It's not just unlucky. There's a tangible reason it's happening, and it's fixable. And most importantly, you don't have to go on TRT. You don't need to take random supplements and hope that it works. You don't need to keep guessing what's wrong. You don't need to waste years of your life trying to fix this. I've explained some of the core components in this video. Now, if you're in that position yourself and you don't want to waste years figuring it out, guessing, making mistakes, staying stuck, trying to source high quality foods yourself, and you want someone just to give you the right sourcing and the right guidance so you don't waste all that time trying to figure it out, that is exactly what I help people to do. So if that sounds like what you need, go in the description of this video right now. You're going to click that link. That will take you to a quick application form. It takes about 60 seconds to fill in. We will speak there and you will start to see improvements within days. Not weeks, not months. You can start to notice the positive effects happening within days. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.